Hi guys, it's Sam here with Bargain Hunting Blonde, and today I am bringing you my tips and tricks video for eBay. So this has been a very requested video ever since I posted this little beauty, which actually has been on my channel for like 2 years now, on my Instagram at least. But I just recently had posted a picture of it just standalone and said I had bought it from eBay, and then got a ton of questions. So this has been a much requested video, and I just really wanted to follow up with a blog post and a video. So if you are not a video person, I'll have the blog posts linked down below. I did divide it into 2 different posts, but this will just be one video that is first tips and tricks for buying on eBay, and then second, the eBay resellers that I recommend. I'll be giving you guys 6. There are many, many more than 6. These are just 6 that I have bought from and I have had a good experience. So let's first start with the bag that I want to show you guys and kind of how I decided to purchase this bag on eBay. So this is a Chanel vintage flat bag. It is the Paris edition, and you can tell that by the CCs, which are silver and gold. It is a lambskin, a beige lambskin. It has the turn lock, and actually, let's see if you can hear it. Yeah, you can hear it. It has like a spring-loaded turn lock, which is very different from the current turn locks that we now have. It also has a very cool, it'll kind of pick it up there, very, very cool hardware that the Chanels no longer have. It is the traditional double flap. I do have it stuffed, but you'll see very much like the double flap today, it does have the CCs, you know, the lipstick pocket, the 2 pockets, the zip pockets, the Chanel. This bag cost me, granted, this was 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 2 years ago. 2 years ago, much before the current price increases that have been happening. This bag cost me $1,000. I think it was like $1,065 with the shipping that I ended up paying for it. When I was buying this on eBay, eBay did not charge tax to people who lived in California. You would now pay tax on this item. But how I ended up finding this item and like shopping on eBay is going into my tips and tricks. So my first tip and trick is number 1 is your search. So for example, for this bag, you're gonna think, oh, well, this is a Chanel flap bag, or a vintage Chanel bag, or a vintage Chanel flap. Those might not necessarily bring you up the items that you're looking for. So a lot of times you got to remember that pieces like these that are older are coming from resellers who are not based in the US, who are based a lot of times in Japan. I love Japanese resellers. And they aren't necessarily going to call this bag the same thing you're going to call this bag. So for example, when I bought this, the listing title had nothing about this being a Paris edition flap. I just knew that because I had done my research and I had seen the different colored hardwares, but the listing title did not mention that. This is something that you kind of have to work at and adapt your search language. So for example, this bag was called the Chanel Flap Bag Matelasse Beige. Matelasse is another word that I found for like the leather, which is also like lambskin, and it shows up a lot in the Japanese resellers' titles for their goods. They often do not know the name of the bag. So for example, I have seen a lot of Diana flaps that are not listed as Diana flaps. They're just listed as, you know, Chanel black flap lambskin. So you're really going to have to experiment with your search terms. And if you find a bag that you're interested in, but say it's not the color you want, or it's not the price point you're interested in, take those search terms and add them into your search. So take those terms from the title, add them into your search, and create a new search. So you started out just trying vintage Chanel flap. By the end of it and everything you've learned, you might have Chanel Matelasse flap beige. You say you want to add in Paris or Paris edition, or you know, you want to add in Diana. You can definitely do that and see what comes back, because with every search you're going to hit on different titles, especially again when you're having a reseller who is maybe using a translator to translate their titles, or to them, they just wouldn't call the bag that, because as we all know, especially with Chanel, they a lot of times don't give things names. This really comes up when you're thinking of like the O cases or the O pouch. Like, I think the community has kind of named them that, and most of the time Chanel just calls them like a pouch, like a case, which is not helpful when you're looking for something. I've also found that the number 1 thing to be listed in a title is the material. So lambskin, caviar, sometimes caviar is spelled wrong. So you definitely always have the material, and then I would look at the color. So if you're looking for a Chanel flap, I would put in the color you're looking for. Normally the color is listed on there. There are a lot of different colors of beige. This is not necessarily a beige eclair beige. It's a little less yellow underneath, but most of the time it'll still say beige on there. So that's number one. Number two, and this one's really, really important, is going to be check the seller. So for me, I like to buy from Japanese resellers because Japan has very, very robust fake laws around fake handbags and selling fake goods. Most of the time, if you are having a brick and mortar store in Japan, you have to actually have a license to sell luxury goods from the equivalent of the Japanese police. So I honestly trust them. I have only ever from a Japanese reseller gotten one fake, and I've bought a lot from a Japanese resellers, lots of them. And they were great. They were like, oh my gosh, we're so sorry. We don't know how that got past our authentication process. And they took it back. They paid for the return shipping. They reimbursed me everything. I mean, yes, I had to go to the post office to ship it back, but other than that, it was not hard. So that's definitely why I like to go with Japanese resellers. I also like to go with resellers that have a really high positive review rating. So I'm talking, you want like a 98 or higher. You'll see some people have 100, some people have, 99.4, because a lot of times there's always someone who's unhappy with what they're getting. And I always read through the reviews to look at the positive, the neutral, and the negative, because I find that sometimes some of the reviews aren't based on them as a seller, but based on them as a buyer. And you really want to look at them, the seller reviews, if you're buying from them as a seller. Other thing I look at is how long they have been on eBay. A lot of these Japanese resellers have been on eBay since 2010, 2011, 2012. For example, Brandoff, who I'll mention later on in this video, they actually have had a brick and mortar store since 1993 in Tokyo. So I just like to see that they've been in business for a long time, that they've gotten good reviews. And then lastly, I also look at how many luxury goods they're selling and what other luxury goods they're selling. So a lot of these big Japanese resellers have listed between like 500 and like 50,000 items. Like, it's crazy. They have so much stuff. And so for me, that means that like this is their job and this is their business, and they're not just like a once-off reseller who's selling something and they may or may not know if it's authentic. They are going to pull the, just say on Poshmark all the time, like, oh, I got this as a gift. I love my friends. I love my husband. But the likelihood that I'm getting something that's luxury as a gift is very slim. I normally buy them for myself. I feel very awkward asking for them for someone else. So when people pull that like, oh, I don't know if it's authentic, it was a gift, like I find that really hard to believe. Or like, oh, I'm selling it because an ex-boyfriend bought it for me. I'm like, oh, is it authentic? They're like, oh, I don't know. Like, it was a gift. I always find that weird. So I like to go with these big resellers who just have been doing it for a long time, have really positive reviews, and have tons of luxury goods. So that is number two. Number three, make sure you're reading all the details. So with this bag, there's normally about 10 pictures up, but the details are going to go into more information about what's coming with this bag. So for example, this bag literally came with nothing but the bag. There was no dust bag, there's no authenticity card. I was fine with that, but some people might not be. Also in the description, they will point out little flaws that the bag may have that you are not seeing in the pictures. So for example, it's going to be kind of hard to see because it's a vintage bag, but there's a little scuff. You see it right there? And when you have the chains, you do not really see that little scuff. So I didn't see that in the pictures, but it was stated in the description. So look through all the pictures, make sure you read the description. And a lot of the Japanese resellers will put up, I think you can put up max 12 on eBay of pictures, and then down below in the description, they will literally have like 50 pictures of the good. They'll have it on a mannequin, they'll have the inside, they'll have every single flaw highlighted for you. I find that they have a tendency to highlight the flaws more, and then you get the bag and you're expecting to be in worse condition. You're like, wow, this bag's actually in really, really good condition. Like, I don't even see those flaws. So definitely make sure you're looking at the description besides the picture. 4, and this is an important one, there are good deals on eBay, but if it is too good to be true, it's too good to be true. Trust your gut instinct. If you're looking at something and maybe it's a seller who doesn't have a lot of ratings, a seller who has 0 sales, trust your gut. Be like, you know what? This is a really popular piece. It just came out. Why are you selling it for $3,000 below retail? And, if you do think it's something that you're interested in, it might actually just be a really good deal, message them. Be like, hey, do you have the receipt? When did you purchase it? Where did you purchase it? How old is it? Has it been used? Like, just feel free, ask them for more pictures, because if they have the good, or they're actually just trying to get rid of it and maybe it's a really good deal, they're gonna respond to you, they're gonna tell you where they got it, maybe they'll have a receipt. Like, that would be great. Receipts, though, aren't the end-all be-all, but you know, it helps. But a lot of times these people just won't respond to those messages, or have like really weird responses that don't make sense. You're like, there's actually not a Chanel there, or there's not a Celine there, or something like that. So ask questions. And you can also, Real Authentication does authenticate listings. So you wouldn't actually have the good in hand, but you would just send them the eBay listing of this item. The only problem with that is if it is a good deal and it is authentic, it's probably going to go before they get back to you, even though they do get back to you quickly. So that's not my favorite way to authenticate. And then 5, once you've got the good, authenticate, authenticate, authenticate. I feel like I'm a broken record, but after seeing some friends who've, you know, bought goods literally from the boutique and they've been fake because people have returned really good super fakes, it's just worth authenticating. It is $30 from Real Authentication. They say 24-hour turnaround. Most of the time it's like 12 or less. They're great. They literally say like counterfeit or not, and if it is counterfeit and you need more information to prove your claim to a credit card company, to eBay, to whomever, they can do that for you. They are great. It is so efficient. I'll put down below, I have a $5 off code, which is for your first one, but again, $5, it's still only $30. When you're buying something that's so expensive, it's totally worth it. The peace of mind is worth it. And then if you do decide to resell it later on, you can get a certificate from them, and that'll help prove that your good is authentic, which I love. So those are my 5 tips and tricks for buying on eBay, especially if you're a beginner buyer and you haven't done it before. Please feel free, if you have any more questions or anything like that, you can comment on my blog. You can definitely DM me on Instagram. Feel free to leave a comment down below if you have a question. I'm definitely willing to help. I love eBay, so I love to be able to tell everyone like, oh, this is, you know, what I have learned, or this is what I have, do not do this, or, you know, do this, stuff like that. Love being able to help. I also love looking at what you guys are buying, because I am currently, I will not say not buying, because like, if I found a really good deal, I'd buy it. But I am currently saving up for a house, which, if any of you have ever lived in California and you live in Silicon Valley, you will know that a 1-bedroom condo costs upwards of $1 million. So yes, the saving has begun, which cuts into my handbag budget, which I do not like, but it is worth it. So, what you have all actually been waiting for, and I have to bring up my list because I do have a full list of them, but I'm only doing 6 right now, are the eBay sellers I recommend. So I know a lot of you have asked me what eBay sellers would I recommend, who do I think you should be looking at, and I think that there are, like I said at the beginning, a ton of great sellers, and you shouldn't just count someone out just because they're not in this list, but these are the people in my list. So first, and I will have the blog post linked down below so that you guys can see, they're like, I linked them all because sometimes searching by seller on eBay can be really difficult. So first is brand JFA. I have bought a lot from them. They have some really cool vintage Chanel pieces. They are a Japanese reseller. They're very responsive. They're great. Highly recommend. Second is Atlantis Tokyo. They normally have more of a curated selection, and they have a lot of newer pieces, I find. They also have some really cool rare vintage Chanel pieces, but they do normally have less. So like, why brand JFA will have like 30,000 items listed, you're normally looking at under 1,000 for Atlantis Tokyo. But again, just depends on what day you hit them. They do, you know, they are in Japan, so their timing is a little different. So sometimes like you'll be looking at something and then you realize it'll like go out of stock because the listing ended, but then they'll relist it, but they don't relist it till we're asleep. So something to keep in mind there. Oh, my phone. Guys, I'm trying to be good and like not use paper and write everything down, but then my phone turns off and it's really annoying. Then you have Brandoff. Brandoff is based on a brick and mortar store in Tokyo. They have been operating since 1993 in Tokyo. They have 2 eBay stores, and I have both linked in the blog post. You have Brandoff, which is the Brandoff Tokyo, and then you have Brandoff Hong Kong, because they do have tons of stores in Tokyo and Hong Kong. They have more than one in each place. They have a great selection. They have tons and tons and tons of vintage goods, especially like vintage Louis Vuitton, vintage Chanel. Like I said, I think the Japanese resellers really have the vintage market kind of cornered, and they have really great vintage pieces, which I just don't find on Fashion File and The Real like I do from eBay resellers. So those are my 4 that I would recommend that are Japanese resellers, even though one is technically Hong Kong, but they're owned by a Japanese company. I have bought so many things from all 4 of them. I think they're really great. If you guys have any questions about other Japanese resellers, like I said, leave them in the comments, DM me. I'll let you know if I've purchased from them before, if I haven't. And now we have 2 US-based resellers. The first is Marquee Luxury. So Marquee Luxury is actually a wholesale company based out of Irvine in California, but through their eBay page, they do sell directly to consumer, and they'll have a variety of vintage and new pieces. They're very good with their pictures, so make sure you look through them and their descriptions. Typically don't have a ton of goods listed, but they do sometimes get some really cool vintage like Chanel pieces, so definitely check them out. And then last, so number 6, US-based seller is Rebag Official. So Rebag has their website and they also have an eBay page. You go between the 2 because sometimes they don't have the same items, and depending on the sales that are going on each platform, you can find different prices. So sometimes I buy from Rebag because it's cheaper, and sometimes I buy from eBay because it's cheaper. So I like to compare the prices between the 2, and they do, at least I find, have a tendency to remove items from their website and then they end up on eBay. So like for example, which you guys have not seen because I have not officially revealed it on this channel, even though I've had it for a long time, my mini Coco handle's from Rebag, but I bought it Rebag on eBay because it was cheaper. But then you guys saw my Birkin reveal, and my Birkin was cheaper on Rebag's actual website. So just a little game, just a little comparison. Definitely make sure you take the time to do that because it's worth it if you can save some money. So thank you so much for tuning in today, guys, to my eBay video. Like I said, questions, comments, leave them down below, DM me. Love talking about this stuff. I will be following up with a second video where I go into some really specific questions that people have asked me about buying on eBay. I love eBay. I know that's kind of not everyone's favorite thing to hear because people can get sketched out by eBay, but eBay as a platform I think is great. eBay does allow third parties to list, and that's where you start having issues. So just be smart, be safe. Look at all the different tips and tricks I told you guys, and you can find some great deals. If you want to see my great deals like this beautiful bag, please make sure to follow me on Instagram, my blog, and Facebook, all of which are linked down below. Thank you so much for tuning in today, guys, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye, guys.